about that time you got the stories that are topping your week on NTV Weekend Edition. Tonight, Kipchimchim village gets even.
Habari ya kwamba wahalifu wameshikwa upande wa Kiptule.
Kericho residents' response to a night murder that's left a family nursing life-threatening injuries. Plus, government finally owns up to the Fort Tenon accident, but going forward,
some of them will be painful to some people, let me promise you, and others will be ruthless.
More tough talk and more days in custody for killer bus owners. Also tonight, more trouble for Governor Obado.
This is too early, I should push it a little.
Another 2 weeks wait for his bail application verdict. And Hugshakes Season 2, the real, the fake, and return of the prodigal sons.
We don't want to be left out there. We want to be at the table.
Find out what's on the menu at the Handshakes table on Bullseye.
NTV Weekend Edition with Mark Masai.
Good evening. Rafael Mbalu is on sign language duty tonight, and we're glad you've chosen NTV for your news updates of the day. Two men suspected to be part of the gang that attacked a family of 5 in Kericho have been stoned to death. The two were accosted by members of the public earlier today at Kabianga in Kericho and subjected to lynching. The suspect is said to have confessed to their involvement in the gruesome attack that resulted in the death of the head of that family. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
They come in their tents to condole with the family that is now mourning the death of one of their own. 42-year-old Lawrence who succumbed to injuries inflicted upon him in an attack that has left this village and indeed the county shaken.
Na watoto watatu kwa nyumba. Lawrence alikuwa amekatwa kichwa na alikuwa amelala akiangalia juu, na vile niliangalia vile kichwa ilikatwa kabisa kiwango ambacho hata macho haikuwa inaonekana.
The family was attacked on Wednesday night, leaving the wife and their 2 daughters fighting for their lives. Their house help amongst the first to arrive on the scene, still traumatized to verbalize the state she found her employers and their children in.
Pole. Nataka pole.
Today, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy was in the county and at the home of the affected family. With him, a contingent of detectives from the flying squad. They are briefed to get to the bottom of the attack and bring the culprits to book.
Hiyo ni first team wameingia na wako na timu yao, na mimi naomba nyinyi wakaaji wa sehemu hii msaidie hawa na wao security wetu wa Kericho pia. Watakuwa hapa paka wamalize kazi yao. Ukiona mchana usiku watakuja hapa. But
as the CS sought to assure the family of those affected, members of the public were already taking matters into their own hands. A few kilometers away from this home, a group of people suspected of having been part of the gang that attacked the family were apprehended by the public. 2 of them were stoned to death by the angry mob, but not before leaving the police with crucial leads.
Tulipata habari ya kwamba wahalifu wameshikwa upande wa Kiptule. Wenye inaonekana walishirikiana kwa uhalifu upande huu wa Kipchimchim.
The suspects involved in this incident are well-known criminals who have been on the run.
Anasikia mwenye amewawa anatoka hapa kijiji. Si ndio? Na alikuwa ameshikwa. Was on probation.
According to security sources, the family had been tricked into opening their door at night to a lady who pretended to be in distress. She asked for a place to sleep for the night. It is believed that she was the one who eventually opened the door for the suspects while the family was fast asleep. It isn't the first murder of its kind to happen within the county. Just months ago, a teacher and his wife were murdered in their house in almost similar fashion. Now the leaders insist that the criminals must be brought to book. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
As all this continues, we wish quick recovery to the mother and daughter who were also injured, very brutal actually, in the brutal attack yesterday, the day before yesterday now. TV journalist Jackie Maribe has been found mentally fit to stand trial for the murder of businesswoman Monica Kimani. Maribe's lawyer, Katwa Kigan, says tests carried out on his client have shown that she is in sound mental health Justice Jesse Lesit had ordered that Jackie be subjected to a mental examination to ascertain whether she was fit to stand trial. The results now mean that the suspect alongside her accused or her co-accused will be ready to take plea on Monday. The two, Maribe and Irongo, are accused of murdering Monica Kimani in mid-September. The confirmation that Maribe can stand trial comes as a third suspect, Brian Kasaine, was released on Thursday. Some news that came as a shocker for many. A PricewaterhouseCoopers manager fell to his death from the 17th floor of its Delta House offices in Westlands, Nairobi. Stephen Mumbo died when he was being rushed to Aga Khan Hospital. And in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, a man died after jumping into a borehole at his home. Rose Wangoi has more.
Employees of Delta House in Westlands today reported to work as usual, but around 9 this morning, they heard screams and a loud bang. Something tragic had happened. A senior PricewaterhouseCoopers manager died after he fell off from his 17th floor office in Westlands, Nairobi. The man, identified as Stephen Mumbo, was an assistant manager at the business unit in the company. Police said the man landed on the balcony of the second floor of the building but did not die on impact. He was, however, pronounced dead on arrival at the Aga Khan Hospital.
He's a member of staff. He's entitled and he's got access to the 17th floor like all of us. It's difficult to keep track of what each and every person is doing. He may have had a meeting with members of staff or with other people. We wouldn't be able to know, and we would be speculating because he's not here to answer that question.
A crowd of curious onlookers milled around the building as they watched the man being rushed to hospital. It is not yet clear what could have pushed him to take his own life.
Investigations are ongoing by the relevant authorities. They have come to our offices today, and we are working closely with them.
Elsewhere in the outskirts of Kitale, a man died after jumping into a borehole at Premier Estate this morning. Residents who rushed to rescue him found he had already died. According to the area chief, Susan Wanyama, the man was a drug addict and was involved in petty crime. However, his father claims his son may have decided to take his own life after it became difficult to secure employment. Police took the body to the mortuary and launched a probe. Rozongoi, NTV.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has acknowledged the government has failed in taming road carnage, saying that the state will take responsibility for the Londiani accident that killed at least 56 people. Matiang'i's tough talk comes as the bodies of those who died in the accident were transferred to Kakamega. Silas Apollo reports on the government's admission and the promises to no longer give excuses.
The wreckage of the bus stands symbolic of the lives that have been affected by the early Wednesday morning crash. With what have been needless deaths on the roads, Kenyans have been crying out for answers and stern action amid concerns on who will take responsibility for the blood-washed roads.
Make any excuses about this, but I want to promise that we are going to have a slightly different approach from what we have had in the past. We also feel pain and are frustrated by some of these things. It is our responsibility. I will not hide from the responsibility.
Matiang'i, while admitting for the first time that his office has done little to prevent the deaths on the roads, says he will now do a lot more to tame the rising number of accidents and fatal ones at that.
Some of them will be painful to some people, let me promise you, and others will be ruthless. Lakini safari hii, we are now ready to start to solve this thing out once and for all.
This admission of failure on the part of the government, which has cost lives, maimed others and derailed livelihoods, was made in Nyamira. CS Matiang'i says his ministry will revisit some of the laws governing road transport and not condone naysayers. And as the CS gave his promises wrapped in tough talk, bodies of those who perished in the Londiani Muhoroni Road were transferred to Kakamega. The 15 survivors are admitted in various hospitals. And in Molo, Chief Magistrate Samuel Wahome ordered for the detention of the owner and manager of the bus that crashed and killed the 56 for another 11 days. This is to allow further investigations into the matter before the suspects Cleophas Shimanyula and Bernard Ishiundu are charged in court. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Migori Governor Okoth Obado will have to spend more days in police custody as the court will rule on his bail application on October 24th. And as Mel Miendo reports, the governor and his aides Michael Oyamo and Caspal Obiero face 2 counts of murder as they will now be held to account for the death of Sharon's unborn child.
Migori Governor Okoth Obado has been fighting to wriggle out of detention and perhaps free from the weight of the murder charges that have seen him confined in police custody for nearly 3 weeks. In his second bond application, the governor made a case against his detention, citing, among other grounds, health complications. But appearing alongside his aides Michael Oyamo and Caspal Obiero, who are all charged with the murder of the late Sharon Otieno and her unborn baby, he had hoped the court will offer him reprieve. But he will have to contend with more days in police custody. In his second attempt to convince the court to release him, the defense lawyers accused the prosecution of not providing sufficient and compelling evidence that justified his detention.
In all the affidavits that they have used to reply, everything there has been on guess form. Let me put it that way. They are guessing. They want you to speculate, to join them and hold hands and speculate with them because they have nothing.
The prosecution argues the governor, if released on bail, would interfere with witnesses and would thus jeopardize their case.
It is not true to suggest that bail is available as of right, just like rights in terms of Article 25. The possibility of interfering with witnesses is a factor to consider.
The Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya and the late Sharon Otieno's mother, Melida Auma, also heaped more trouble on the accused persons with an application that seeks their detention until the case is complete. Obado has been behind bars since his arrest on September 21st, and shortly after his stay at the Industrial Area Prison Remand, he was admitted at Kenyatta National Hospital after complaining of stomach pains.
Article 50 of presumption of innocence has to come in because life must go on.
It's 12 days inside the gates of the Industrial Area Remand Prison for Migori Governor Okoth Obado, his personal assistant Michael Oyamo, and Migori County Clerk Caspal Obiero, with the defense maintaining its stand that the prosecution did not give sufficient evidence to deny the 3 bail. Mel Miendo, NTV, Milimani Law Courts.
Also, 1 person has been killed in Moyale border town after conflict emerged between 2 warring youth groups in Biashara Street on Kenya's border with Ethiopia. Scores others have been injured in what is suspected to be another case of intercommunal clashes. Moyale's sub-county police commander Johnston Liambila says an old man was shot dead in his shop on Biashara Street, leading to the eruption of chaos in the town. There's also been a lot of tension between 2 youth groups who have blamed each other for theft of motorbikes along the porous border. Police have so far recovered 2 pistols and several rounds of ammunition as local leaders blame police for the deteriorating security situation.
One Mzee who stays not very far from the border, he was caught up in that shootout. And we suspect it must have come from across.
Jana, leo, biashara yote imesimama. Na hii biashara ikisimama, hasara nyingi kwa wananchi, hasa wale wanategemea biashara. Vijana wetu wa bodaboda, pikipiki yao yote imesimama.
Ezra Chiloba has been fired as Chief Executive Officer of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. In a letter addressed to him and signed by the chairman of the commission, Wafula Chebukati, Chiloba is accused of failing to appear twice before a disciplinary committee to answer to allegations of irregular procurement for material for last year's elections. And as Ken Mijungu reports, Chiloba, who has often fought his ouster from the commission, maintains he was still not given a chance to be heard.
The wait for Ezra Chiloba has been long, anxious and unpredictable. He was suspended twice, reinstated once, allegedly fired once, and not even court orders could get him back to his office. This evening, he received a letter from his employer notifying him that his services were no longer needed. In the letter, IBC cites his failure to attend 2 disciplinary meetings convened to discuss his conduct during the last election. In his response, Chiloba says he was first summoned to appear before the committee while he was at Oxford University undergoing a course. He says the second time he was to appear was the 11th of this month. Chiloba, however, says it was questionable that the very commissioners who voted to have him suspended early in the year sat in the disciplinary committee. He further says the commission's conduct during the said audit was a clear indication that his fate had already been sealed and his fate was predetermined. He accuses the commission of suspending him so that they could stage manage an internal audit that will justify his termination. He also says that he was never allowed to defend himself since he was denied access to his office and staff who would have aided in preparing his defense. Chiloba was first suspended in April to allow for what the commission said was an internal audit of the 2017 general election. He took the lion's share of the blame for the commission's mistakes that the Supreme Court pointed out when they nullified the presidential election. The commission accused the secretariat of undermining it, while the commissioners too were split in the middle, leading to the resignation of some. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Chiloba, or Chilobes as he was fondly known earlier on. Chilobe's exit now brings us to our first break here on NTV Weekend Edition. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula now says he will support Deputy President William Ruto's bid for the presidency in 2022. Wetangula, who also rubbished calls for a referendum to change the constitution, says he was against the revision of the constitution if the intention was to create positions to resurrect the careers of some political leaders. Deputy President, on his part, says the ongoing referendum debate was just empty talk at this point. Ken Mijungu reports.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Western Kenya to commission the Teremchwele Nalondo water supply project. Accompanying him were several leaders drawn from across the political divide. Among them, Bungoma County Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, and Kimilili Member of Parliament Chris Wamalwa. And here, politics of succession took center stage.
Tusiwapatie wanafiki wa kisiasa nafasi.
Wetangula told the cheering crowd that he was ready to partner with Ruto in his quest to succeed President Kenyatta. He also faulted the calls to review the constitution, claiming it was meant to deny the deputy president his chance at the presidency.
We want the change of the constitution to be for you, the people, not for leaders who want to resurrect themselves politically.
Wanataka watumie hii referendum, alafu wapate uongozi through the back door.
Bungoma County Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, however, said he will support the review only if it does not create extra positions or reduce the number of counties.
The biggest question ni hivi, tunauliza hii referendum is about what? Ni kama kupunguza mziko ama kupunguza cheo za watu wengine.
Wananchi wasiri.
The deputy president on his part said leaders should instead focus more on delivering on their campaign promises.
Tumeamua ya kwamba sisi tutaweka mambo ya migawanyiko kando, tushirikiane, tuwe timu moja ya maendeleo.
The strong sentiments on the succession politics come barely 48 hours after Wetangula led a group of Western Kenya leaders to State House, where they held lengthy discussions with the president, and just 24 hours after President Kenyatta urged leaders to unite and shun divisive politics. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
On his part, President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on leaders to give politics a break and instead focus on delivering the promises they made to Kenyans. The president also asked chairs of constitutional commissions and holders of independent offices to play their role in delivering a better country for all. He made the remarks as he officially opened the 7th annual forum of chairpersons of constitutional commissions and holders of independent offices in Meru. The forum kicked off on Wednesday and focused on reviewing just how these offices have included public participation in their mandate since the constitution came into effect in 2010.
I urge you to join me and the people of Kenya in demanding and enforcing unshakable fidelity to the law, to integrity, and to the public good. Indeed, I challenge you, the Chapter 15 institutions, to maintain the highest standards of professionalism and meritocracy so that others may emulate your conduct and management of the organizations you are entrusted to.
This morning in our neighboring country, more than 40 people have died after they were buried alive by a landslide in Mount Elgon area in Uganda. The disaster took place on Thursday and also involved a river bursting its banks in the town of Bukalasi in the Bududa district, sending muddy water coursing through a market.
Tragedy hit the sleepy village when the loose mud walls of a river nearby collapsed. With it came a torrent of mud and water, literally sweeping away the village, killing more than 40 people. According to government officials, the region is mountainous, with soil rich for agriculture and densely populated, which puts a lot of pressure on the land. It is for this reason many return to the area, despite early warnings requesting them to move from the area. Uganda Red Cross says that 36 bodies have been recovered, but it is feared that the death toll could rise as a government rescue team reaches the Mount Elgon area. The Prime Minister's office has sent a team to assist with the search and recovery efforts, which was set to continue on Saturday in the difficult hilly terrain. Bududa district in the foothills of Mount Elgon, which lies on the border between Uganda and Kenya, is a high-risk area for landslides. At least 100 people were reported killed in a landslide in Bududa in March 2010, and in 2012, landslide destroyed 3 villages. Government efforts to move vulnerable people to neighboring districts have faced resistance from residents. Jean Gweri, NTV.
Say a prayer and spare thought for people in Uganda who have lost their loved ones. We take another break here on NTV Weekend Edition. Business is up next with Dan Mule.
Safaricom Business.
Let's get down to business. My name is Dan Mwangi. Now, British firm De La Rue has the green light to print Kenya's new look currency following this morning's decision by the Court of Appeal to uphold the award of the tender. The award ran into headwinds in December 2017 following the High Court's ruling which suspended the Central Bank of Kenya's decision to award the tender to the British firm. The bone of contention has been the application of the 15% preference margin in favor of De La Rue. By law, application of this margin in a tendering process is a preserve for local companies explaining why De La Rue's intention to subcontract the printing to its local affiliates elicited heated debate. Through their statements, both the Central Bank and De La Rue have welcomed today's ruling, terming it a vindication of the procurement process that saw the tender awarded on 30th November 2017. In April this year, the Central Bank filed a notice seeking to appeal the High Court's decision. The search for new look currency is informed by Article 231, Clause 4 of the 2010 Constitution, which states that all notes and coins should bear only images that depict Kenya with the exclusion of any portraits of individuals. Now, tourism at the coast is set to receive a major boost in the next few weeks as the region plays host to 3 international tourism conferences. Stakeholders say the conferences are a sign of the confidence that the industry has in Kenya's coast, especially since it has suffered dwindling numbers in the recent past due to travel bans. Harith Salim reports.
The industry is seen to be bouncing back from the dark past of travel advisories, where hoteliers experienced losses partly due to over-reliance on the international market.
Travel advisory or no travel advisory, I think the lesson it has taught us is that domestic tourism is definitely a driver for hospitality within the country.
We need to encourage more of the domestic market because they're the ones who are keeping us mostly going, especially with when we have issues with advisories and stuff.
Stakeholders now say things are looking up thanks to government efforts to improve security.
We have so much confidence coming in from international airlines such as Qatar, who are now flying directly into Mombasa.
We love the staff. We love the place. We love the Kenyans. We love everything about it. What more can I say? Nothing. Nothing. It's just so lovely.
Stakeholders are now calling on the government to focus on infrastructural development, which has been a major challenge.
Tunaona itakuwa bora zaidi kama Dongo Kundu ingeharakishwa ikafunguliwa, kwa sababu hii kuvuka feri wakati mwingine inachukua muda, wageni pia wanasimama muda mrefu pengine kusubiri.
Once the road is done, and also there are plans with putting up the port, the Shimoni port, that will really sort of open up Shimoni. It becomes a bigger town and it also creates a lot of jobs.
Delays have been experienced for quite some time at the Likoni ferry, prompting the county government to float a proposal to an 80 billion shilling bridge to decongest the channel. A cable car project was also fronted and the deal signed. This will provide safe and reliable alternative to ferry crossing and is expected to increase tourist numbers. The cable cars will have a transport capacity of 11,000 people per hour. Harith Salim, NTV.
The government is finalizing a Sharia-compliant policy targeted at savings and cooperative organizations in a bid to woo the Muslim community. Under the new policy, savings and trade cooperatives will come up with tailor-made products that are aligned to the Muslim faith, I beg your pardon. Islamic law forbids charging interest on financial services and also conventional financial practices such as speculation and gambling, necessitating the government to come up with a policy and tap into the community.
One thing we want to is to reach to more people, especially those ones who are not really right now in the circle movement, and also we want to enhance the governance.
Kenya will next week join more than 130 countries in celebrating the World Food Day that is commemorated on the 16th of October every year in honor of the date of the founding of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. The celebrations, however, come at a time when food production is facing major threats, including climate change and the emergence of deadly pests and diseases. Globally, hunger has risen for the third year in a row, with nearly 821 million people estimated to be facing chronic food deprivation in 2017.
The people that die from because of lack of food or hunger are more than those that die from malaria, tuberculosis, and also AIDS combined.
Food insecurity at present is driven by climate variability and extremes. So the issues of drought, the issues of floods, but also issues of new diseases like fall armyworm in Kenya, maize necrosis that we have experienced in the last few years in Kenya.
Staying with food, hunger and the likes, and next on Food Friday, Zainab Wandati speaks to a 62-year-old farmer in Kaptagat in the county of Uasin Gishu about how he uses the internet to troubleshoot on his farm.
It happened that I went to Caltun and I met a friend of mine who had 6 cows and he was producing 150 liters a day. And that really challenged me and brought this new turnaround. And therefore I started putting my cows 7th of September 2009 and confined them. And after 6 months, I realized the demand. I realized that I could raise more milk. So I was able to raise up to 150 liters in those 6 months. The challenges that we had was weather. 2016-2017 was a big one. I had to sell nearly half of my cows due to the heavy drought. The climate was not favorable for more fodder feeds. I have different things in the farm. I have dairy goats. I have also doba. I also have a few chicken.
How are you able to do all of this on a very small piece of land?
I normally say use your brain. I think if we want to succeed, you must use your brain. What my cows eat, I often say, they eat my brain. They eat my knowledge, how creative I am.
The average age of a farmer is 60.
Yeah.
60, 62 years old.
Yes.
And you fit that ideal age. And it is also said that farming is usually something that people do once they retire. So did you start this because you retired and you had nothing else to do, or is it something you wanted to do for a while?
Let me say, I started dairy farming when I was at the age of 40.
40.
But it was not the way it is now. It is improved. I used to have few cows and move around, take them around, and then I was curious, how can I improve my dairy? So I have improved from 70s to this date. If you are running a farm, if you want to succeed, I think I will not encourage people to buy direct dairy milk. They are very expensive. For simple farmers like ourselves, I think if you can get the ingredients and mix up for yourself, it's a little bit cheaper. I have not studied anything to do with dairy farming, but what I normally do is I Google.
Oh, you Google?
Yes,
Nice.
I do Google and I see if I have a problem, I would go into the internet and check if there is any information.
Is this one of the things you learned from Google?
Yes.
How to do this?
Yes, I have looked for machineries. I look for machineries and I made my own. I have my own machineries. So I have to look at it and then the content also. After Googling, I would go to a nutritionist. I would consult some nutritionists who are available. And they would tell me this one is useless, this one is...
Do you think farming is a get-rich-quick scheme?
I don't. I think you need to sweat for it.
Why do you think the young people think it's a get-rich-quick scheme?
If they move into the dairy farming with that notion, I think they will quit quickly. Let me say, I think dairy farming is a growing gradually. It is not something that you come in and get the money straight away.
NTV Business News in association with Safaricom Business.
Let's get your...
In the Oval Office with the president. I don't know if we can hear.
It's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s and the prison rates just shot up. And now you have Chirac. It's more important than any specific deal, anything.
You know, the interesting thing I realized, Mark, is that he hardly looked at Trump. Well, he ended up with a hug.
Yeah, no, it looked like he was, all through, giving bars about how, the president is doing well for the black community, and also throwing back the challenge to the black community, talking about you shouldn't always blame Trump. But I think there's some background to this. I mean, Obama called him a jackass sometime back when he interrupted some award ceremony because Beyonce didn't get the award, and he went to interrupt it. And I think this is,
and he declared his love to Trump. He was like, I love this guy. Trump tried to shield him like, he's a nice guy. I don't want to put you in that kind of situation.
But I also feel it's a bit awkward. It's not really funny because even Trump, he's just letting him talk. Even, he went on a rant thereabouts for a few minutes, maybe 12 minutes thereabouts, until he went over to hug him. But there was an interesting point. He said, this is their president. We shouldn't ridicule him and let him look good internationally. I don't know if we should implement that here.
I don't know. I mean, our president had not a musician, but a musician's sister going to hug him. So I guess it was a night of hugging the president, or a day of hugging the presidents. And, Trump was quiet for quite some time.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Dumbfounded for once. I didn't say he was dumb. I just said he's dumbfounded for once.
You found it.
Let me hug you just like Kanye's, and then take a break here.
Okay, Kanye, Masai.
Love this guy. Love this guy. Just
I hope it's not a waste of my time, Kanye. I'm done with this
Good
guy.
play there. We'll be back with Bullseye, and then there was also the reason I shook your hand, because there's hug shakes and handshakes, and you'll see that with Daniel Juma right after this. The race to be part of the handshakes and hugshakes movement is on. And as the movement grows, so is the frequency with which delegations are returning to the House on the Hill amid rumors that good things come only to those who shake hands firmly. It's a season of confusion, with prodigal sons returning in droves, all keen to be part of the delegation to Canaan. But as Emmanuel Juma now reports on Bullseye, those who stayed as their brothers sought refuge in other houses are not amused.
They were here. The men of Mulembe, and the anticipation was palpable. It was their turn. Their time to shake hands with the tenant at the house on the hill. After all, there's been a rumor that one Baba was now eating all the sweet things after shaking hands with the son of Jomo.
Alipromise hawa Kenya kwamba anawapeleka walambe asali na maziwa. How come? Hajaenda hata na mama mmoja mkongwe kama huyu. He's just alone with his family. Yeah, ana enjoy tu. Sasa analamba asali na maziwa peke yake.
With such knowledge, who would blame them for being this anxious as they awaited the arrival of the host? The handshake did happen all right, but that was it on this day, except for the few sips Wycliffe Oparanya took. Important thing is, they were here, having taken this advice from one Ken Lusaka.
Ile inzi iko na akili inakufia kwa maziwa. Ile inzi iko na ujinga inakufia kwa choo. Mimi nikasema siwezi kufia kwa choo, nitakufia kwa maziwa.
It's all about choices, really.
Your Excellency, after Jubilee, ODM, and then Wiper. We don't want to be left out there. We want to be at the table.
And ordinarily, when people are seated around a table, something goes round.
Kama baba hajakula matunda na ile ugali Uhuru amempatia, paka baba sasa amejisahau, lazima sisi kwanza hapa tukule.
Never mind Kutunyi, it is the turn of the prodigal sons.
Kenya Uhuru amemfanyia baba, ai, hata hiyo naye.
Sasa analamba asali na maziwa peke yake.
Some would say Waluke and Kutunyi wanasikia kiwaru. But Steve, what else brings you here?
We don't want to be left out there. We want to be at the table. And thank you for accepting us, because we have now come to the table. Yeah.
Bindu Vichenjanga indeed. The handshakes are bringing dividends for the son of Jomo. And some are too good. Enough to make a man's eyes and hands look in different directions. It's hugs and handshakes galore, from State House to every other corner of Kenya. Some are real, while some can only be described as plastic. As for the lady in yellow, it was a dream come true. A day of double joy. Then Baba spoke.
Plenty be found within our borders. Kwa Biblia, hiyo ndio Canaan.
So, Canaan is not that far after all.
Hiyo ndio Canaan. Sasa tukasema tujenge madaraja ya kuvukisha watu tukuingia wapi? Na tunasema hii sasa Canaan tunaingia sio wananasa peke yake, na Jubilee na NASA pamoja.
That may be so, but some are still busy paving the road to that promised land. But it is a divisive project, so it seems. Right in front of the road builder, a sitting MP and the man he defeated were going for each other's throat. A supremacy contest, I suppose. Here now is William the Reconciliator.
Sasa wewe Mpuru, nitakupatia 1 minute, lakini usiseme mambo mingi.
Well, take a keen look at the man behind Mpuru. He is a conductor of what you can call the booing choir, and what a sterling job he was doing. It's politics, and without a bit of a fight, verbal or otherwise, it would be boring. And when they are fighting over water, here is the son of Jomo's counsel.
Tuache siasa ya maji. Maji ni kipeo cha Mwenyezi Mungu kwa wananchi wake.
Kipeo? That sounds like mother tongue.
Asanteni sana.
Let's hear how good Amina is.
Wajitahidi wajitahidi ili mitihani zetu ziwe ambazo hazina kitu chochote ambayo ingetuletea jina mbaya, ambayo
Yes, that one Amina.
Kuanzia hapa sasa kwenda juu ya kwanza sasa. Hiyo sasa ndio itakuwa ya private investor yule ana invest.
And then good news. Fanda and Waititu has finally moved the river.
Kwa hivyo yule ameinvest pesa yake ndio sasa atajenga vitu za kuuza hapo. Kuanzia sasa gorofa hiyo.
And he has big plans.
Yote nyumba itakuwa ya 15 floors. Sasa kuanzia hii kwenda juu. Ya kwanza itakuwa na banking halls or eateries, restaurants, supermarket. Kwenda juu hiyo ingine utakuwa na kindergarten.
The sky is the limit for this man.
Daycare hizo pia ni za kuuza.
Emmanuel Juma, Bullseye, NTV.
Always a tickle bullseye, and we'll definitely have a rerun of this and on our YouTube page for those who will not manage to catch it on air. Now, some international news. Humanitarian workers in the Democratic Republic of Congo are still struggling with Ebola cases that have been difficult to deal with due to misconceptions.
Times for Watson Sports with yours truly, Watson Karuma. Harambee Stars coach Sebastian Minye brushed aside talk about his salary arrears, instead focusing on Sunday's match against Ethiopia. Captain Victor Wanyama described how hard it is for the players to train without allowances as the team received news that their dues will be paid in full. Kenya takes on Ethiopia on Sunday in an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier return leg. Sean Carter-Villis was in Kasarani this morning when the Deputy President, William Ruto, visited the camp and pledged 50 million Kenya shillings as winning bonus.
Harambee Stars have been boosted by the return of defender Joash Onyango, who was suspended for the 0-0 draw against Ethiopia on Wednesday. Onyango was sent off in the first half of the 1-0 win over Ghana last month and is available for selection after resuming training. The Football Kenya Federation has received 25 million Kenya shillings from the government, which will settle all pending allowances and salaries owed to the technical bench.
If I'm still here without my salary, it's because first I like Kenya. I have one target is to qualify this team and to participate with my boys to the next AFCON or 2021. Because at the beginning it was the target, don't forget it.
We have good fans, and I know now the government have given the stadium free, so I know it will be crowded here and the support will be massive. So when we have the crowd behind us from the first minute till the end, I know we'll do something.
The team has also been promised a 50 million shillings bonus should they qualify for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Deputy President William Ruto urged Harambee Stars to finish the job against Ethiopia on Sunday as they seek to complete their return to the Africa Cup of Nations finals.
You have our prayers, you have our goodwill, you have our support, and it is our expectation that you will rise up to that challenge and deliver a victory for yourselves and for our country.
Harambee Stars currently top Group F with 4 points, level on points with Ethiopia, who arrived early Friday morning, while Ghana are third with 3 points. So with the Deputy President promising that allowances have been settled, that is a massive boost for the squad. And there's also the issue of a bonus should Harambee Stars win on Sunday. Sean Carter-Villis, NTV at the Kasarani Stadium.
Now, former world javelin champion Julius Yego has urged the government and stakeholders to take the sports industry seriously and pay national teams and athletes on time. Yego was a spectator at the Kasarani Stadium on Friday as the Harambee Stars prepared for that crunch match against Ethiopia on Sunday.
They need to be paid. It's the responsibility of the government to pay these people. And it's a shaming, of course, you know, the government always say they support sports, but when our coach hasn't been paid, the players haven't been paid. Of course, even us, we have complained too much. For athletes, we have been making complaints about not being paid. Of course, even us, we haven't been paid for the Asaba CA. But they need to pay these guys because on Sunday they are playing.
Now, with Western Stima and KCB having already secured promotion to the Kenyan Premier League, all eyes will be on Nairobi Stima and Ushuru FC in the National Super League on Saturday. Both teams are each tied on 68 points, and as it currently stands, Nairobi Stima will face KPL side Nakumatt FC in a playoff match to determine which team plays in the top tier next season. But that could change by the end of Saturday. If Nairobi Stima lose to KCB at Kamtoyoyo and Ushuru beat Bidco at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos, meanwhile, Migori Youth and GFE 105 will battle to avoid joining Nakuru All-Stars, who are confirmed as relegated from the NSL. 22 cars have been cleared to start Saturday's Eldoret Rally, the penultimate round of the Kenya National Rally Championship. Eric Bengi and navigator Tuta Miyonki will be first off the ramp, followed by Mombasa Rally winner Baldev Shaga. Championship leader Carl Flash Tundo is third on the road, followed by Nakuru Rally victor Onkarai and local motorsports legend Ian Duncan. Tundo needs to finish in the top 3 places of the remaining 2 rounds of the series to clinch the KNRC crown for the 4th time in his career. The event gets underway from the Sikh Union Club at 8 a.m. on Saturday. The route is 250 kilometers long and features 6 competitive sections. The National Golf Classic, the Nation Golf Classic Series will conclude on Saturday in an event that has attracted a field of over 290 players, the biggest since 2013, where 275 players took part in Muthaiga. The 5-leg series started in Nyahururu before moving to Nakuru, Kisumu, then to Mombasa, and will culminate at the VetLab Sports Club in Nairobi this weekend. Nation Media Group will partner with Omnispace 3D in a deal worth 1.3 million Kenya shillings that will see the event planning company provide the space that will host the tournament dinner and awards gala. There will be 13 prizes at stake at the tournament, which tees off at 6:20 a.m.
We see golf as something that can promote sports tourism. And not only sports tourism, but local sports tourism.
So we are very passionate when it comes to golf. And we are happy and delighted to be in this partnership.
Well, if you don't think lightning can strike twice, well, this one can. And I'm talking about using...
It's his birthday today. And that's why he's wearing jeans. I have to tell this on national television so he gets into trouble. But no, it's his birthday. He gets away with a lot. So you're looking sharp, bro.
Yeah, my friends are snitches. But, well, that does it for NTV Sport and the news indeed. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.
He's out of breath. He's out of breath. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Rafael Mbalu for the sign language interpretation. Up next is The Trend, of course, with Amina Abdi Rabbar. Good night. Well.